Hollies had cemented themselves as one of UK's most successful pop groups. With infectious hits like Bus Stop and Carrie, they were a staple on the charts by the mid-60s. They had perfected a polished, radio-friendly sound that produced hit after hit. Their signature harmonies were unmistakable. At the heart of the Holly sound was founder Graham Nash, a key songwriter whose voice and vision helped shape their musical style. But by 1967, Nash was pushing the band to explore more experimental, countercultural themes, influenced by the growing psychedelic sound. However, the Hollies had built their success on tight, catchy pop songs, and the rest of the band wasn't eager to shift away from this winning formula. The Hollies found themselves at a crossroads. They must decide how to move forward and maintain their success. This tension will leave Graham Nash with his back against the wall. He must decide to continue with the pop sound that their audience has come to expect, or to push the band harder for a more experimental sound that he believes is where music is heading. Or is there a third option? But their internal battle over artistic direction will reach a breaking point. With clashing visions, rising tensions, and a fateful meeting in Los Angeles, their differences would soon reach an irreversible turning point, one that would not only alter the band's future, but also influence the course of rock music itself. The question is, what happens when a band's key member no longer believes in the music? Let's explore this turning point in the Hollies' journey and the lasting impact it had on their sound and legacy. Along the way, we'll hear from the members themselves, uncover the 60s rock star girlfriend who inspired one of their biggest hits, and trace the Hollies' influence on some of the biggest bands of the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s. In 1962, childhood friends Alan Clark and Graham Nash began their musical journey in Manchester, playing skiffle and rock and roll covers. Inspired by Buddy Holly, they formed the Hollies. The band secures a residency at the Cavern Club in Liverpool and catches the attention of a producer at Parlophone, who also worked with the Beatles. Their 1963 debut single, a cover of Ain't That Just Like Me, becomes a modest success. The Hollies transition from covers to original material, scoring their first top 10 UK hit with Just One Look in 1964, followed by Here I Go Again and I'm Alive, their first #1 hit in the UK in 1965. Finally, the Hollies broke through in North America with an original song written by Manchester's Graham Gouldman, Look Through Any Window. The Hollies evolved from a Mersey beat-inspired group into sophisticated pop craftsmen. Then on a trip in 1966, Graham Nash traveled by train from Casablanca to Marrakesh. He began the journey in first class, surrounded by people he found to be uninteresting, as he described it. They were all ladies with blue hair. He decided the compartment was completely effing boring, so he left his seat to explore the other train carriages and was fascinated by what he saw.
Carrie actually started out to be a song about Marianne Faithfull. She was unbelievably attractive. We would have given away the fact that everybody wanted to make love to Marianne Faithfull, you know. But I have to confess, it started out to be a song of Marianne Faithfull, and we just didn't have the courage to say so. So we made up this girl's name, Carrie Ann. Seemed to work.
Hey, Carrie Ann, what's your game now? Can anybody play?
We were doing a TV show. And I remember actually going out of the dressing room to go and get something to eat. And when I came back, I could hear these two voices singing something about Carrie Ann, Marianne, Marriott Tambourine Man, and this line was being sung. And I thought, that sounds pretty good.
Hey, Carrie Ann, what's your game now? Can anybody play?
Record for you, which is our new record in England. It's called On a Carousel, and it goes something like this.
On a Carousel was released a few days before the Beatles put out Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane, and Carrie Ann arrived the same week as Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. But behind the scenes, Nash was growing restless. By 1967, he was pushing the band to explore more experimental countercultural themes, influenced by the psychedelic music his contemporaries are recording. However, the Hollies had built their success on radio-friendly pop, and the rest of the band wasn't eager to shift away from that formula. However, Nash was able to convince the band to record the psychedelic and orchestral King Midas in reverse. It flopped commercially, peaking at only number 18 in the UK, a rare failure for them. The band saw it as proof that this new direction was a mistake, while Nash saw it as progress. Nash wanted the band to embrace the shift happening in rock music, following the Beatles, Byrds, and Buffalo Springfield into a more socially conscious, experimental songwriting. Considering what is being released at the moment, it's easy to understand Graham's position. In early 1968, Nash introduced Marrakesh Express to the band, inspired by his 1966 trip. The song mentions ducks and pigs and chickens, which he saw on the train, and recalled the ride by commenting, "It's literally the song as it is, what happened to me." It was different from their usual fare, vivid psychedelic and inspired by the countercultural movement. The Hollies dismissed it outright. This rejection wasn't just about one song. It was symbolic of a deeper creative divide. Nash felt suffocated. The band, meanwhile, saw no reason to stray away from their successful formula. Instead of embracing Nash's vision, the Hollies made a baffling choice. They would record an entire album of Bob Dylan covers. To Nash, this felt like an uninspired commercial grab, completely at odds with the artistic growth he craved. Graham Nash first met Cass Elliot of the Mamas and Papas during a U.S. tour with the Hollies in 1966. This initial meeting laid the foundation for a friendship between the two musicians. Cass Elliot invited Graham to visit her in Laurel Canyon in 1968. Nash describes first meeting David Crosby. "As he's talking to me, on his chest he has a shoebox lid, and without losing eye contact with me, he's shaking this lid, and he's separating the leaves from the stems and the seeds perfectly. I'd never seen anything like this." Later that night, Crosby took him to a party at the house of Peter Tork of the Monkees to meet Stephen Stills. An informal jam party in 1968 with Crosby and Stills wound up resulting in a magical harmony that took them all by surprise. That was when the trio of David Crosby, Stephen Stills, and Graham Nash first sang together. Nash returned to England with new friends and was obviously taken by the scene he encountered in Laurel Canyon. He'd also fallen deeply in love with Joni Mitchell during this time. Between the enchanting harmonies with Crosby and Stills, his dissatisfaction in the Hollies, and his desire to be with Mitchell, Nash's next move was obvious. He left the Hollies, moved to Laurel Canyon, and soon began to work with a new band calling themselves Crosby, Stills, and Nash. After Graham Nash left the Hollies in late 1968, the band didn't skip a beat and continued to have success with major hits, adapting their sound while staying true to their signature harmonies and polished production. The Hollies proved their resilience with Terry Sylvester replacing Nash. They released their Sorry Suzanne, then one of their biggest hits ever, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. Terry Sylvester explains.
Hello, that's Tony Hicks.
This is Terry Sylvester.
And we're on Sounds Unlimited, and we'd like to thank you for joining us. And Donny Sutherland was on as well, was he? Is he a good lad?
He shared his part. Yeah.
He's a good fellow, isn't he?
Oh, he's a
Not
cracker.
a bad lad, actually.
Cracker.
Good old Donny.
I think there's one called We're Through, which was probably about our fourth single. I don't know whether that's the case here. I'm speaking of England mainly. Mm-hmm. And then we had a period of about 6 years where, you know, things like Carrie and Carrie and a few others, which we did. I can't think of them. Can you think of them?
Stop.
That was it. No, Tony McCauley. Right. That one.
Now that fellow, he moved on to a group called 10cc, didn't he?
No, that's you're thinking of Graham Goulman.
Yeah.
Right.
He wrote Bus Stop.
And Look Through Any Window.
And he's
Yeah.
10cc now.
He had a great period around there where he was writing those. In fact, Bus Stop was the first worldwide hit we had. I don't know whether we had any success here before that, but that broke in America and everywhere, you know.
Yeah, I think you had
He was
success
really
in
hot around that time. I think Herman's Hermits, when they were sort of being big in America and things, he wrote a few of their things. Then he seemed to go to sleep for about 9 or 10 years, and then he came back with a bang with 10cc doing some lovely things.
But I do regret it, my Suzanne. You gotta believe me.
Terry, the first hit that you had with the Hollies.
Sorry, Suzanne.
That's
Nice.
my favourite.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was nice for me because I'd been in 2 groups in England. One called the Escorts, which is a local Liverpool group, and I was with the Swinging Blue Jeans.
Right.
But never really had hits with them. They'd sort of passed it, Good experience for me, though. And then when I joined the Hollies, I had a hit at last, so...
Graham kind of wanted to move on to a different level. I think he spent, as I said, he spent some time with Mama Cass and hanging around the Hollywood Hills. And I think he'd also, I think, just gone through a separation. So he was, going through stuff. But hey, I'm so happy it happened because, I said, it was my biggest break. And it was a wonderful time. I remember the day I joined, we had a reception at the Westbury Hotel in London. And it was a big secret. Nobody knew who the new Holly was because we had a wonderful manager, a guy called Robin Britton, and he used to rob Britain, of course. Anyways, no, he was a fantastic guy, and he was from a different era. He had a mansion on the Isle of Wight. His brother, built the Britain Norman Island aeroplane. I mean, this guy was great. Anyway, he arranged this whole thing. Nobody knew who the new Holly was going to be, so he just built the whole thing up. So there we are in this reception room. Next minute, the doors open and all the press are there. Every newspaper in the UK, with the big ones, Mirror, Sun, everybody. Here's the new Holly. He used to be in the Swinging Blue Jeans, he used to be an Escort. He's now a Holly. And I was on the front page of every major newspaper. I mean, for me, it was just a dream come true.
And you were how old then?
I just turned 22.
Wow.
Just turned 22.
A lot of responsibility.
And then, of course, you've got to get to the real business. How is this new Holly going to fit in? And what's this going to sound? Well, we'd already had, I'd been in the studio to Abbey Road to do some tests type thing. We needed to make sure. And our first record, Sorry Suzanne, basically was a hit.
I'm truly sorry, Suzanne.
Then the next record, of course, was for me, it was unbelievable. It was He and Heavy Is My Brother, which was like a worldwide hit. And we had Elton John playing piano. Just the whole thing was just a wonderful time. I just look back on it sometimes with, real joy. Went into Abbey Road and the Beatles were there, and I'm walking down the corridor and George Harrison walked toward me and he said, as only George Harrison could, he said, "Congratulations on your new boast." And I just...
After Graham Nash left the Hollies in late 1968, the band continued to have success with several major hits, adapting their sound while staying true to their signature harmonies and polished production.
And said, listen, people are going crazy with this B-side, you should think about switching it. They did, it went to #1.
A major departure from the Hollies' usual polished harmonies, this gritty swamp rock song, led by Alan Clark, became their biggest U.S. hit, reaching #2 on the Billboard Hot 100. The track had a Creedence Clearwater Revival-inspired feel and remains a classic rock staple. The Air I Breathe in 1974, one of the Hollies' most iconic songs. This sweeping ballad became a top 10 hit in both the UK and the US. Its dramatic orchestration and soaring vocals made it one of the most recognized songs and later inspired Radiohead's Creep, leading to a legal settlement. Despite losing Nash, the Hollies proved they could still evolve and thrive, scoring some of their most successful hits in the 70s. Meanwhile, Nash's work with CSN helped define an era, proving that his instincts had been right all along.
Traveling the train through clear Moroccan skies, ducks and pigs and chickens calls, animal carpet wall to wall.
Although Iggy Pop seemed to side with the Hollies' position on Marrakesh Express. In a 2003 Rolling Stone article, Iggy Pop mentions the song in response to a discussion of the Stooges' creation acting as a counter against the hippie movement. He explains, "I mean, Marrakesh Express, it must be the worst song ever written."
You know we're riding on the Marrakesh Express.
Ultimately, the Hollies and Graham Nash both thrived, but only after one of the most pivotal musical breakups in the 1960s. The Hollies' sound remained harmony-driven, and their influence continues to spread Artists like ELO, The Smiths, Crowded House, and Tom Petty absorbed elements of their melodic craftsmanship, citing their influence. Childhood friends Alan Clark and Graham Nash remained friends and even reunited for a musical venture together. Unveiled in 2023, Buddy's Back featured on Alan Clark's album I'll Never Forget, which entered the independent album charts at number 6. The song is written by Nash and reflects his childhood relationship with Clark and the musical influences they shared growing up.
We heard